Welcome to the Hari-katha Podcast, and I'm Bhakti Lalita. And today we will be answering your questions. It's a Q&A session part 2, because last time we didn't get to all the questions and more came in, so we're just kind of going to do this regularly. And we have in the studio here my dear Yuvati Devidasi. She's got a list of questions for me, and we can just start.
Dandavat, Bhakti Lalita.
Dandavat.
So the first question. I just missed meeting Srila Govinda Maharaj. He left the world right when I arrived to the Math. He left so many qualified representatives I know, but I wanted his connection.
You know, same thing happened to one Vaishnav lady who, during the time of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's disappearance, 1977, he was in Vrindavan, and this lady, I don't know her name, she flew to Delhi and she went to Vrindavan and just missed Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He had left the world. And she was devastated and spoke to Bhakti Charu Swami, one of the prominent gurus of the ISKCON society. And he sent her to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. You're now in India, you miss Srila Prabhupada, but Srila Bhakti Rakhak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj is there at the Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. So you can go and take shelter of him. And she did. And she went to Navadvip and met Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and he gave her Harinam initiation. And he said to her, the infinite has infinite alternatives. So, you had in your mind set on Srila Prabhupada's connection, Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, but that door closed, but another one opened. The infinite, the Lord, divinity personified, has infinite alternatives. So the alternative merciful dispensation was meeting Srila Sridhar Maharaj and getting connection to him. And what an alternative. That's Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada considered Srila Sridhar Maharaj his Shiksha Guru and senior godbrother, and would go and debrief with him and get advice and approval from him and consultation with him, and told his followers, go to him for further guidance. So that door opened for her. And, we also must be faithful. Yes, the infinite has infinite alternatives, but we need to have faith in that the Lord is always there, and He's within our hearts, He's within every atom, He's everywhere, He's nowhere, seemingly. And, keeping an open heart, an open mind, and moving forward, knowing that we will get connection to the Lord if we are sincere. And we can approach the different self-realized souls, the different representatives of the Lord, and wait for that inner approval. That's something Srila Sridhar Maharaj says. When meeting a teacher, a guru, there's some period of examination. The guru will examine the aspiring disciple, and the aspiring disciple will examine the guru. And if that connection is bona fide and legitimate and sincere, then some inner approval will be there from both sides, and then that connection can be established. It said, when we are sincere in our search for the infinite will come to us and meet us in the form of Guru. So the Lord is the Guru, revealing himself in so many ways, in so many forms, in a plurality. So the infinite has infinite alternatives.
Thank you. Sometimes everything is so easy going in spiritual practice, and other times I feel like it's an uphill battle. How do we pace ourselves in both situations?
Yeah. I heard from one of our dear God brothers, he's actually technically my God uncle, Devashish Prabhu. He quotes this English writer, Charles Spurgeon. And this writer says, by perseverance, the snail reached the ark. It's context of the Bible, Noah's ark, all the animals get on the ark and are saved from the devastation, the floods. But the snail, so slow, he made it by persevering, determined, I'm going to get on that ark, and little by little moving and made it. So he was saved. The whole species of snail, the snails were saved by perseverance. So we can apply that to our spiritual life. Maybe sometimes we need to slow down and be more in a self-preservation mode. Sometimes we can just risk everything and jump in the name of Krishna. We might feel, the pace may change. We may need to, go realize we're in this for the long haul, and we can't always be reckless and jumping. Sometimes we need to brace ourselves and go at a pace where we can preserve ourselves and go carefully. That's part of yoga. We're actually bhakti yogis, or aspiring, in my case, most of our cases, we are aspiring bhakti yogis. And yogis, the journey is one that requires some insight, some ability to weigh and assess and measure our current necessities and our abilities at any given moment. We might realize I need to go in this preservation mode, preserve what I have and not risk everything. But the next day or the next time we assess ourselves, we might be ready for anything. So, as far as this question is concerned, perseverance is the answer under any and every circumstance. Just persevere and think of the snail.
It's not always easy to share and speak such high things as the concepts of our gurus to the people I come across. I can only share the little that I know and don't have so much to say. I have a strong desire to preach, but my understanding is simple and basic. Do we really need to have very extensive knowledge to speak to others we meet?
Good question. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author, It's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's biography. We read every morning this holy scripture about the life and pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami quotes a Bengali saying, a very common saying. And he's explaining like why he first explained the pastimes of Mahaprabhu in some areas. He gave the whole idea in a concise way and then realized he can explain more because he was very old and he was going blind and he wasn't sure he would survive to be able to finish the book. So he wrote in such a way where in some areas it's very brief. What is being described is brief. And then he quoted the Bengali saying that essential truth spoken concisely is true eloquence. So if we can know what is essential truth or have some idea and to be able to convey that, represent that to others when we're trying to share our understanding, when someone's sincerely inquiring what is essential truth, share that in a concise way, in a gist way, and it's the Bengali saying that is eloquence. You don't need to be long-winded and give giant, big explanations, and not everyone can hear such elaborate descriptions or have time. We see like people nowadays want sound bites. They want everything in a short, distilled way. But that Bengali saying is very old. So what is true today was also true so many years ago. So, yeah, in that way, I think speak from your heart, be sincere, share what is essential, and it can be concise, and that is beautiful, that is eloquent.
What is the actual nature of Goloka Vrindavan, the land of Radha Krishna, situated at the highest point in the spiritual sky?
Yes, we heard from Srila Param Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakak, Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, that beautiful, original, unique expression of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He's describing Vrindavan as power dressed in affection and couched in humility. Power dressed in affection and couched in humility. So power, Goloka Vrindavan is situated at the very topmost level of Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means unlimited spiritual transcendental realm. And it's not a geographical location, it's a location within consciousness. It's a plane of existence, existing within consciousness, where we can go through consciousness, through developing subjective devotional consciousness and surrender. So there's gradation everywhere, within everything. There's gradation in the transcendental realm, the spiritual eternal realm, where there's Brahmaloka, Shiva Loka, so many Vishnu Lokas, Narayan, and going into the higher hemisphere, going into Ayodhya, Lord Ram, Ramachandra's abode, Dwaraka, Mathura, and Vrindavan, Navadvip and Vrindavan. And so there in Vrindavan, Krishna is Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadi Adir Govinda Sarvakarna Karnam. He's the original primeval Lord. the original Supreme Person, and from him springs out all the different expansions, avatars, incarnations, and so on. That his infinite expansions are doing so many things, but he, the original primeval Lord, he's playing, he's living in his own personal, private, family life, situated in the topmost spiritual realm, and supremely powerful, but as Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, dressed in affection. His pastimes are affectionate and loving. And couched means like in a kind of in a posture where not appearing so grand, but like in a relaxed mode, couched in humility, in a humble, simple environment where everyone has 2 arms, not 4 arms, like in the lower hemisphere, like in Vaikuntha, where Narayan, Vishnu, so many expansions, they have 4 arms. Everything's so majestic. Everything's awe and reverence and palatial. But as you go higher, it's called a prakrita, supramundane. It's beyond, it looks human-like, where Krishna is living with his friends and his abode. It looks like human society, but it's not. It's transcendental, it's spiritual. It's an eternal playground for the Lord, where he, the template of our human society comes from there. Everything that exists here, it originates in that transcendental realm. This is what we have here as considered a perverted reflection. So, when Gopakumar, the story of Sanatana Goswami in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he has Gopakumar on the epic journey of going through all these planes of existence. And in a very concise way, he's describing his experience in all these places, in Shivaloka, in Vaikuntha, going to the abode of Narayan and Vishnu. And he's spending sometimes, he came from Earth, he went to the upper planetary systems, and where so many self-realized souls like Tapaloka, they're living in, it's still the material side of existence, but they're more evolved and developed, and they don't even, in this one plane, higher heavenly planets, they're all meditating and they don't need to speak. They're reading each other's mind. They're communicating through telepathy. And he spent some time with them there. That was like cool, but he had a mantra from his guru, who was the Lord who came as his guru, gave him the Gopal mantra. He kept chanting that mantra, and it was taking him higher and higher and higher and higher. And he penetrated all the material layers. There's like 8 layers covering the material side from the spiritual side, crossing the marginal plane, the Viraja, and entering into Vaikuntha. And he spent time everywhere, and it's described what each place is like. It's fascinating. Very concisely described what each plane of existence is like, where Gopakumar went. And he was a cowherd boy by nature, and he was a cowherd boy in Govardhan, in Vrindavan. That was his birth in the material world. But he was also, his internal swarup, his spiritual nature was that of a cowherd boy, friend of Krishna. So, long story short, he finally gets to Goloka. Vrindavan, the land of Krishna. Through chanting his Gopal mantra, it's taking him higher and higher and higher. And finally, he's entering into Goloka. And he's seeing that, like, he had just been in Vaikuntha where everyone has 4 arms, and that's lower. And he's now higher where everyone has 2 arms, and it looks like human life going on. And cowherd society going on. And Gopakumar is just amazed, like, this looks like my hometown in Govardhan, Vrindavan, but this is the eternal, transcendental, spiritual realm where Lord Krishna's abode. But he noticed, like, at this particular moment, everyone was in anxiety. He was walking around and he was seeing, like, miserable people. And he's just was like, what's going on? This looks like some ordinary misery, but it's not. This is not the ordinary human plane. And then he was talking to the inhabitants there and realized, like, Krishna had gone for cow herding. He took the cows, the cowherd boys, he was gone for the day. And the residents there couldn't wait for him to come back. A moment seems like forever. They're all in anxiety because of their deep separation from him. Mother Jashoda, the gopis, all the residents there are in anguish and separation from him. But he will come back for, lunchtime or dinner time. And he was waiting, Gopakumar was waiting for Krishna to come back. And from a far distance he could see, it was evening time coming, he could see a big cloud of dust. And then he could hear the bells of the cows. And then he could hear the sound of Krishna's flute and the footsteps and the laughter of the cowherd boys. And as that cloud of dust was approaching, he could see forms. And he could see Krishna, Balaram, all the cowherd boys, the cows coming. And he starts to run because he's meeting his Lord for the first time in the transcendental world. And the Lord spots Gopakumar and runs towards him. And they run, and Krishna's welcoming him, and they embrace. Big embrace. And then fainted. They both fainted in ecstasy to see each other, to be united. And one detail was mentioned there that they fainted on the ground, and first Gopakumar came to consciousness and saw Krishna lying there unconscious, also in ecstasy from seeing his long-lost devotee coming home. But Krishna's hand was surrounding the neck of Gopakumar and choking him. And Gopakumar's like, get your hand off, I can't breathe. And then arousing Krishna, wake up. And then Krishna spoke to him like, how was it possible for you to live without me for all these lifetimes? And he was saying, I was there with you through everything. I saw you cry for me, I saw you struggle for me, I was there with you in all your difficulties and troubles. But now you've come back. And in this way, their meeting took place. And Sanatana Goswami describes this for us as an example, what it's like to be welcomed into the transcendental eternal world. So, power dressed in affection, couched in humility, the nature of this abode of Lord Krishna. And the Brihad Bhagavatam Ritam really beautifully describes this meeting. One can reference that to hear more detail about it, how beautiful it is. So, yeah, it's the ultimate example and description, what our home, our transcendental spiritual home is like.
How can we conceive that nothing is outside of or separate from God?
Srila Sridhar Maharaj liked to quote Pascal, saying, "Everywhere is center, nowhere is circumference." The center is everywhere. Oftentimes he would call God, the Lord, Krishna as center. The central conception of divinity is Govinda, Krishna. And that Lord is everywhere. Nothing is outside of him. Nothing is outside. None of us, nothing in this creation, nowhere will you find anything absent of God. He's everywhere, he's within everything. Everything is resting within him. That includes us. We are part and parcel. Everything that happens in our environment. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. Nothing happens without his sanction. So we can be assured that we are part of his divine play. We are part and parcel, part of the infinite organic whole. It's our duty to serve for the good of that whole as serving units, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj says. So we can understand the ideal and the theory, and as we put it into practice and through service and surrender and progress, we will see for ourselves that it's true. We will get that experience. We'll be able to taste, touch, smell. With all our sensual capacity, we'll perceive this one day. And that we are confident of. One day, if grace and mercy comes to us, this is a matter of grace, like a gracious grant from above coming to us and giving us that understanding.
Srila Guru Maharaj said, "Learn to give ashes." Just go through the learning process and the motions of giving. What does this mean?
Yes. In India, it's quite an ecosystem how they live, like especially in the villages, and they use fire for cooking, and the ashes from the fire are also useful, and they use them to clean pots and pans as like a dishwashing soap. So the ashes have some value. They're useful. They're put in a container and used to wash. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj is here in this context is saying, even the ashes have some value, and we need to start from somewhere. Something is better than nothing. In Bengal, they say, a one-eyed uncle is better than no uncle. A one-eyed uncle is better than no uncle at all. And that's a way, it's a funny language where they're saying something is better than nothing. Give something that has maybe a little bit of value and go through the motion, learn how to give. Because we, in this material world, we are very self-centered. It's all about me, for most of us, I know in my case. And coming out of exploiter, self-centered existence is, we need to learn, come out of that consciousness and come to servitor consciousness. That's what the whole thing is about in our spiritual culture. Learn to be a servitor and do away with the exploiting, self-centered existence. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, begin this process by giving. Learn to be a giver. And if you're unable to give something so valuable, give some ashes. They'll be useful in cleaning the pots.
Actual spiritual attainment and realization seems like an impossibility. There are times I wonder, why even bother trying?
Our Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj, he liked to quote this American poet, Theodore Rothte, who said, what we need are more people who specialize in the impossible. We need more people to specialize in the impossible. And that's what we're all doing as devotees, especially those of us who are, 24/7, trying to exclusively serve and surrender, or whoever is dedicating themselves in this way, whose ideal is for, this divine service life. It may seem like an impossibility to become God conscious, to be self-realized, to achieve positive immortality, liberation, sharanagati, surrender. But we have nothing better to do, actually. That's what we're specializing in. And it seems impossible, but it's, no risk, no gain, all risk, no gain. We're happy to leave everything else behind in this pursuit because it's a beautiful prospect and it's satisfying our hearts and attracting our hearts. And the more we give ourselves, the more reciprocation comes to us, and where we see that what is seemingly impossible becomes possible. So, we need more people specializing in the impossible. Then this world will be a happier place. Then there will be peace and more self-giving, more self-sacrifice, no war, no disease, no exploitation. But we start within ourselves in some modest way and keep our ideal front and center and give ourselves the best we can for this seemingly impossible prospect.
What do you say to people who still believe in Darwinian evolution? I come across them in school all the time.
There's so many, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that, and it's hard to know if he really said it. It's a thing, and especially in ISKCON society. Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that, and there's a song about Prabhupada said. Maybe someone can confirm that he said this, but I heard he said, and it sounds like him, that the Darwinian idea that we come from monkeys. He said to the Darwinian camp, like, you come from monkeys. We come from rishis. Maybe you come from monkeys, but we do not. Like, that is not our origin. And that's like a Mayic, misconceived, misunderstood idea. We come from God, and we come from the progenitors who are like elevated souls. And, human society has never been a monkey. We can see, like in Vedic ontology and the timeline of the different yugas, that humans were way more evolved in very ancient times, in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. The remnants of even like geographical archaeology is finding like pillars made of gemstones, signs of very highly developed life from very ancient times. We know all the incarnations of the Lord Ram existed in Treta Yuga. And, the opulence and the beauty and the evolution of that human society was so dignified, so elaborate. There's no way we would come from monkeys. Seeing the actual reality of Vedic concepts, the Vedic civilization. So, we can try to explain what we know of subjective evolution. Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj would say life comes from life. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, subjective evolution of consciousness. Everything's coming from consciousness and evolving from there. We are all living within that subjective plane of existence. Going back, Radha Krishna, Baladev, Nityananda, the Devatas, to the thing. Everything's a cluster of subjective evolution. Srila Sridhar Maharaj says the whole objective world is like an iceberg floating within consciousness. So, I know Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, don't bother to fight with atheists and the Darwinians. At one point, though, it was discussed that, like, we will build the temple of understanding above the tomb of Darwin and establish the Krishna conception, Krishna culture above all. That was the idea of the scientific preaching of Swarup Damodar Maharaj and others. In any case, we don't want to preach to the faithless. We want to respond, reciprocate with who wants to listen, who wants to hear. This is not about argument. It's about faith. And we're happy to share these higher concepts and the idea of subjective evolution with others who want to hear. So it's one of the offenses to throw pearls to the swine. Throwing pearls to the pigs, they can't appreciate it. So we share with who can.
What is bhakti, Krishna consciousness, Gaudiya Vaishnava culture, Prema Dharma. So many names for the same thing.
When so many visitors came to Srila Sridhar Maharaj from across the river, the god brothers, the disciple followers of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, they asked him so many questions, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj tirelessly answered their questions. And then he decided, I'm going to turn the tables here and ask you. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, what is Krishna consciousness? And these followers gave so many answers, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj listened to their responses. Then he responded to his own question. And he said, Krishna consciousness, bhakti, Vaishnav culture, Paramahamsa Dharma, Prema Dharma, Sanatan Dharma, they're all the same thing, but he said, it's reality. And it's within your own best interest to become acquainted with that reality. So what we're dealing with is reality, absolute reality, that we are all part and parcels of the Supreme Person, and we are all meant to serve for the good. We're serving units and lost servants here in this plane of existence. We're all achieving connection for our divine prospect and for the sake of reality, becoming acquainted with reality and finding that's where we will find sustenance, we'll find fulfillment, charm, beauty, sweetness, affection, love, all the things we're hankering for. It's to be found within reality, which Srila Sridhar Maharaj says is beautiful. Reality, the beautiful. So it's within our own best interest that we become acquainted with this reality. So I hope I've answered the question. I hope it's a satisfactory answer. Thank you for these questions. I think that was the last question.
Yes, it's all questions for today.
Thank you, everybody, for sending these questions, and really they're good for me and good for others. Happy to share and keep them coming. We'll do a part 3 one of these days. When we get more questions piled up, we'll do another round. So Jai, Srila Gurudev. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakhak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Itai Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bol Jai Shri Bhakti Lalita Devi Ki Jai.